discuss the unidentified, the unexplainable, paranormal, conspiracies, and much more. Starring your host and co-host, Jenny Nicasio, Sean Kelly, and Jason Sledgehammer and Petro. Brought to you by UPRN Network. Now for your host, Jenny Nicasio.
Good evening and welcome to Chasing Prophecy on FM 105.3 in New Orleans, where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope of normal. I'm Jenny Nicasio, along with my co-host Sean Kelly, Jason and Petro, and the fabulous John Ventry. How are you guys tonight?
Hello, happy Torture Tuesday.
Yeah, happy Torture Tuesday.
You're going to have to figure out how to add me to that intro.
The gremlins have spoken already.
We're going to have to do it
before we even got started.
Oh, no. What happened now?
All the delays.
Oh, I know. It's terrible. The sound has kept on breaking up. I don't know if you guys noticed.
Well, make sure you don't look at yourself while you're talking, because then you'll be like...
or what you do is you just keep moving your mouth the whole time, even when you're not speaking.
Yes.
I know. It's really bad. I don't know what's going on, but we have a pretty good night tonight.
I get tired.
What did you say?
I said if I keep moving my jaw, I'll get tired.
It's a good thing it's radio. You know what I mean? We have video, but it's a good thing that we're radio too. So people don't care what we look like. I hope. Well, let's get to it because our guest has to. He's a school teacher, so go ahead and do the honors, John, and introduce our guest.
Okay. Our guest tonight is James Krug. And, I got to ask James how long ago he joined MUFON, because that's when I met him. And I'm thinking we're probably in the 7-8 year range, if not more. But he's an astronomy teacher out in Altoona, and he runs the observatory, the Neil Armstrong Observatory, and he's the state section director with MUFON PA. And, he's an absolute up-and-coming guy in MUFON and in this field. And if I hadn't retired from MUFON 5 years ago, he was the guy, my protege, that I wanted to develop to take over the state director of MUFON, as opposed to how it transpired and who's got it right now. But James, in my opinion, will be the state director one day. So is James there?
Welcome to Chasing Prophecy, James.
Welcome to Torture Tuesday.
I really appreciate
James.
Great to have you here tonight.
Thanks, John. You were right. It's been about 8 years or so that I've been a member of MUFON now. Good memory, sir.
Yeah, that's where I figured. I went back to my YouTube channel. And, I took a look, and is it possible we've only done 4 episodes with you? Does that sound right? 2 trips to my house?
We did UFOs over Pittsburgh when you and Fred used to go to the broadcasting station.
You did that?
Yeah, we did that with you one time. I remember because I wore a green polo, which was a no-no. Right. And then I had to switch polo shirts with the sound guy so that my body didn't disappear. We did one of those, and we just did a couple from your house.
Yeah. I pulled up at my house. We did whistleblowers, secret space program, time travel, and moon structures. Yeah. And I guess we did one. You know what it is? I go to the channel and look for you, and if your face isn't where they froze it, then I couldn't see which episode you were in.
Right. I can find that one for you. I still have it.
Hey, the other thing we'll talk a little bit about, I guess we could start with this, is we had filed, PA MUFON filed for a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, 2 years ago on the Tic Tac, video that's out there that everybody's talking about. And that it was 490 pages. So we said, I want the 490 pages. So they sent us, I don't know how many were there, Jim, 16, 18 files. And it has all of this stuff. But what I want to say to you is my files are gone. I went back to look at it prior to the show, and all 13, 11, whatever there were emails, they're gone. So I don't know if Google deletes them after 6 months, 7 months, whatever it might be. They were there until I forwarded them to you, unless forwarding them to you wiped them out, like I gave them to you and now I no longer have them.
Well, it's funny you say that because prior to the show, I was just looking through mine. Fear not, I still have them. They're all on PDF. I have them downloaded, and so I can send them right back to you. Not a problem.
Yeah, in a file maybe, because I was going to say, make sure you load those. Now, I don't know if you got to look at it. I know we haven't gotten to it yet because we want to do actually a show on it for my YouTube channel. But there was stuff, Jen. There was stuff in there talking about time travel, advanced weapons. I mean, I'm saying to myself,
You should definitely find that.
Well, I'm telling you, and you know what the thing is. When the government sends you stuff, you know they don't read every line. And there's always stuff embedded in there. Oops, this paragraph shouldn't have been there. But I'm telling you, this is such advanced stuff for propulsion, engines, time travel. Can you name any of the other stuff that was in there, Jim? I mean, I don't have it to look at, but just trying to remember the topics, though. But then I said to myself, what does this have to do with the Tic Tac video? So apparently they sent us everything that they're working on, maybe to fill the foyer and confuse people.
Maybe.
I don't know. There was almost nothing there about the Tic Tac video.
Well, a couple interesting things. It's funny how much is out there right under people's noses, but nobody cares. Nobody pays attention. Like I always share with people, if you go into Google Patents right now and you type in TR3B, it'll bring up the patent. It's just called triangular spacecraft. And you can see diagrams of it. You can read all about the electrostatic propulsion that it supposedly uses. And the crazy thing is when you look at the patent date, it says that it was filed way back in 2004. So, to one of your points, John, there's all kinds of stuff like this out there. I guess specifically regarding the Tic Tac, I'm not sure if it's a disinformation thing or if they knew the Tic Tac itself was one of ours. So we got things about our own advanced propulsion. Somebody brought up a good point to me, and they said that the reactions of the pilots in the video, they found kind of odd, because if you actually read the backstory behind the Tic Tac videos, these pilots were up in the air on somewhat of a training mission, and they were basically called away from that for an actual live situation. And so you would think that the demeanor would be one of utmost severity. They would be very, very serious. But then in the video, you can hear them basically just laughing about this thing. And so either it was so beyond what we had that they knew they would never catch it, or maybe they knew that it was actually one of ours and they were just marveling at what this thing could do. But it's just strange to me because when you read the backstory of how the Tic Tac encounter started, it doesn't seem to actually match up with what the pilots were actually saying on the video.
Yeah, I agree with you. Initially you're saying, oh, look, they were surprised. But I kind of feel like that's our advanced space program. And they have this Tic Tac and drones and other craft that what's it, the X-47A and B and all of that. And it's almost like we wanted to see the pilot's reaction, and what they played for us was small blurbs, like it's like, holy crap,
yeah, you can hardly see
look
them,
at that, but then it ended, but I'll tell you something else. 2 years ago, I contacted David Fravor, the pilot, right? And I said, we do a pretty big conference here in Pittsburgh and Philly. Do you want to come out and speak? And I actually got his phone number and I spoke to him. It wasn't an email. And he goes to me, oh, I don't want anything to do with aliens. And I said, okay. He goes, no, I'm not going to come. I said, okay, fine. I got off the phone. I said, well, if you don't want anything to do with aliens, apparently you know that these were not alien.
There's a lot of people hiding stuff. So are you reading those comments that we're getting from Grandmaster?
I was checking that out.
This person's seen alien bodies.
What do you think of that?
Can you ask this guy questions? Or
Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
You want to give him a minute to just tell us what he's talking about here?
Grandmaster, why don't you give us a little bit more information?
He says he's an insider on the UAPET. He has seen the alien bodies with Congress.
When he was with Congress when they saw it?
When you guys are doing shows,
they had alien bodies tested at Stanford and got their DNA, and it's confirmed it's alien.
What do you think of this?
What
do you think of this, there, Mr. Krug? What do you think of what this person is saying?
Well, I was going to ask, when you guys are doing these shows, is it tough for you in your position on the fly to try to decipher who is out there legitimate trying to share things with you versus who is just kind of logging in? They're like, hey, let me just try typing this in there and get a rise out of them. I think that would be tough.
We've had some.
We've had some real ones.
Hey, Jim, do you remember 2018? Before I ran for county commissioner, I wanted to get this done before going into politics. I put a $30,000 reward out there for alien DNA, blood, anything to prove that they're real.
I hope you got some money because Grandmaster had.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. He missed out on 30 grand there because I was paying. You had to bring it.
What was the expiration date?
It was the end of the year of December 31st of 18. I put it out there for about 8 months.
Wow.
And no takers. But I tell you what, though, I received so much garbage. I actually put a briefing document together of what I received, and I put it out there on Kindle. Like, here's the stuff they sent me as proof of alien life, and it's almost comical at this point. But yeah, he could have scored on that one. But all right, Jim, do you want to kind of segue? I mean, let me say this too. James has probably been doing the circuit around the state more than anybody else right now. There's what's that show in Pittsburgh that you do with McKenna?
Eric McKenna Project. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I did his show a couple of years ago and then introduced you. I said to him, they got to introduce you. And you've done, what, 8 or 9 episodes now?
Yeah, I'd say we're up to that point now.
Apparently he likes you better than me.
Sorry about that, John.
I did one and he never had me back.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, But and then you've been doing some others with Brian Seach, some different Butler, and what other locations have you?
Yeah, so we did Brian Seach in Butler, which is the Butler County Paranormal Society. They're phenomenal. And then you helped introduce me to Eric Mintel of Bucks County Paranormal out at the Philly conference. And so I've been doing some things with him, and we have another one coming up in the spring. So it's kind of neat, all the different connections you can make in this field.
Oh, yeah. And then, Pittsburgh and Philly. Now, we need to get Eric Mintel on the show. What was the Beast of Bray Road? Is that his presentation? He got some actual footage out there in Wisconsin. So maybe next week, the week after, we'll get Eric on here. But let's talk about what we did our shows on with you. And you can start wherever you want. It's kind of a shame you can't show those Mandela effects.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah.
Well, did you want to start with that, or do you want to start with the time travel?
No, let's start with Mandela.
Okay.
I jokingly said to James,
I'm curious about this guy's comments here. How have you guys been reading that? He's saying that there's motherships on Saturn's rings bigger than Earth.
Yeah, I don't.
What do you guys think about all that?
That's not. I don't know. I'm at the point in this field I want to see proof and not just crazy.
Well, he said they aimed the Hubble telescope at the motherships and got photos.
I want to see some of the photos.
Well, post the photos. We'll show.
Post some photos, Grandmaster.
Yeah, send us some pics.
Most definitely. So tell us about this Mandela effect. What do you?
Well, I jokingly said to James about Nelson Mandela, and that's where it came from, right?
Yeah.
Again, tell the story. It's your deal.
Sure. Did you guys want me? It looks like I do have the share screen feature. Do you want me to try to use it?
Yeah, show some of them, because it's like, man, I remember this, and that's
pretty cool. So, do we need to do the background on the Mandela effect for your listeners at all?
I don't know, how long can you stay on, Jim?
Oh, I can stay on for a bit. I've got your back. That's not a problem at all.
Like
so
an hour and 40 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely be.
All right, then take a half hour on Mandela, and then we'll do the other one.
Yeah, sure. So I guess before we get directly into Mandela effect, we want to talk about the possibilities of actual time travel to the past, what physicists say is possible, and then how the Mandela effect differs a little bit. So quick crash course on this. We know for a fact that you can time travel into the future. Einstein proved that way back in 1905 with special relativity. Basically, the faster you go, the slower time goes. So at least officially, separate from what might be in the black budget, officially, we cannot build a ship that can go even a fraction of the speed of light. but they've already proven this with particle accelerators. They've accelerated particles real close to the speed of light, and the radioactive ones decay a lot slower, just like Einstein predicted. So going to the future is not the debate. The debate comes into going back to the past. And so here are the two leading theories. And first we have to talk about why there's an issue with the past versus not the future. With the past, you have the potential of what are called paradoxes. And so the big one with time travel, I'm sure some of you have heard of, is called the grandfather paradox. John, are you familiar with that one?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you go back and kill your grandfather, how am I going to be born? Or does it create just a bunch of different futures?
Exactly. You know? So the way that physicists get around this, and it's still acceptable in their minds, is two different ways. One is called timescape. One is called many worlds. So timescape, number one, I like to call this one anti-free will. In timescape, you can go back in time to any past that you want, maybe like revisit the Kennedy assassination. But as soon as you actually try to intervene to change the weave of history, some cosmic force prevents you from doing so. You can only go back as an observer. So that's one idea that physicists are okay with, is called timescape. The second idea is called many worlds. In many worlds, you can go back and you can change whatever you want about the past. But to prevent these paradoxes, as soon as you change something, like let's say you go back to Dealey Plaza in Dallas in 1963, and you stop the umbrella man from signaling, or you stop the shooter on the grassy knoll, as soon as you intervene, a separate world line branches off from your own, one in which a time traveler from 2022 went back to save President Kennedy. So many worlds is also okay with physicists because it doesn't create any paradoxes. The Mandela effect is unusual because it's basically neither of those. The premise behind the Mandela effect is time travelers are going back to our own past, and then they are interfering with it, and then that makes a ripple effect, and it changes our perception of reality today. So the whole background comes from famed South African civil rights pioneer Nelson Mandela. So I'm sure everybody is aware of Mandela and what he did to try to end apartheid in South Africa. Mm-hmm. And he did go to prison for a number of years for it, but he eventually got out and became a political figure and was the beloved head of the country for many years. And he ends up dying at a very, very old age. He was actually in his 90s when he ended up dying. But here's the wild part about the Mandela effect is a lot of people do not remember that at all. They actually swear up and down that Nelson Mandela died in prison. In fact, they're so passionate about it, they say they actually remember watching his state funeral on television and can actually remember teeny tiny details right down to the color of the curtains in the church in which the funeral was held. So it gets the name of Mandela effect because this is really the first time that a group of people have collectively misremembered something the same exact way. Although believers in the effect would basically say they're not misremembering it. We came from a world line in which Nelson Mandela really did die in prison. But because time travelers went back and changed the past, our world line then changed with it to one in which Mandela got out of prison and lived into the age of 95. So I do have a number of examples I can quiz you guys on, Definitely. But does anybody have any questions or comments, or do you want to get back to anything that Grandmaster UV is saying?
No, let me just say, Jim, when you mentioned these possibilities, the first one you said, you know what comes to mind? And it should come to mind with the paranormal guys here, ghosts.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. You think about it, the noises, like they're there, they're observing.
So that you think they're not really ghosts, but they're time travelers.
Well, I'm just saying that could be one possibility of time travelers. So when you hear things and you know, it's them. Sometimes maybe when you hear a voice or something, it's actually time travelers.
I love you, John. I love you very much,
can
man.
see that.
I cannot see that at all. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
I like that idea.
No.
I never thought about a ghost not being able to interact with our reality. I think that's a neat idea.
Well, not real ghosts. I'm just saying that that some of them maybe we're misinterpreting as
Well,
ghosts.
okay. So you think that could be that some are I can see that
some,
happening.
just it's an example.
Because they look like shadows. People said when they see shadows, maybe they're the time travelers.
Yeah, I'm not saying every ghost is that, but it could be some of them.
So you think they're just on another time travelers are obviously in another dimension and they're briefly
they're going so fast.
But you know what the big question is, like, why would the time traveler come to my house at like 3 a.m.
Okay, like, so it's not those are ghosts, John.
It might be a completely different time.
Those are ghosts or your demons coming back to haunt you.
Those are not the time travelers.
But you know what? Back to Nelson Mandela. You know, a lot of people actually realized that that he died. But I was doing some research, and there was another guy in with Nelson Mandela who did die. You know, but his name was never mentioned. I don't remember the guy's name, but I saw it on YouTube, and there was an activist in there with him who did die in jail. So maybe he wasn't.
So that's kind of neat. So basically, your idea is people were accidentally conflating the two. They saw the other activist die, but then they accidentally associated that with Mandela.
Exactly.
That's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to this. Time traveling. What do you think? Because they're saying that CERN might cause some of these new Mandela effects. Have you read anything or learned anything? Did any research on that?
I have, actually. The big concern with CERN, which if people don't know, is a massive particle accelerator that's buried underneath the European nation of Switzerland. And I think part of it, because it's basically a big circle, just goes into the edge of a couple other countries like France. So the big worry about CERN was if they fired it up to its maximum power, people were afraid that it was actually going to create a black hole that could potentially swallow the Earth. But I read a pretty neat article from a physicist where he actually ran the calculations behind it and showed even if CERN did that, it would be a microscopic black hole that would evaporate almost immediately. But with that being said, there's also some really weird stuff with CERN. Right outside of CERN is a statue of Shiva, the Indian goddess of destruction. And officially, that was a gift from the country of the people of India. But at the same time, if you know people in the world are already in a panic about your particle accelerator, might not be the best idea to put a huge statue of Shiva, goddess of destruction, right outside of it. Two more things just real quick on CERN. There was a big hubbub on YouTube a couple years ago where a video was released supposedly showing some type of satanic ceremony.
That's what I was just going to say
around CERN at night. And officially, the physicists at CERN came out and said they were just having some fun with the conspiracy theorists. But the one that really gets me, John, are you familiar with the opening of the tunnel that was
the Gothard Tunnel? Yeah, 2016, the $9 million demonic ritual to open the Gothard Tunnel, which is insane.
That is sick.
It was really wild. Do you remember any of the details of it? Because I saw the video and it was pretty eye-opening.
I mean, they were dressed in, it was a ceremony to, I can't think, it starts with a B, and they were dressed with the horns.
Yeah, they were demonic. They were wearing that
outfits and stuff. And the city of Detroit was doing some of that stuff also. Maybe because none of their sports teams ever win. I don't know, but that could have been it. But
demonic. I mean, they're all demons. I swear.
What does that have? And I'm telling you, this CERN thing, like you said, Shiva, and it's built on the Roman site of Apollyon, the gatekeeper to hell.
So why would they even mess around with something like that?
Because they practice this and they ask for, fame and fortune and they get it. But then he takes your soul.
Some of the rituals that they showed too, one of the ones that was the most alarming is they show all the dancers outside of this tunnel. And then all of a sudden they basically just shut down, like they were basically remotely controlled.
Like AIs.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you could look at it either, some of it is having fun with people that don't totally understand CERN, but there's enough weird stuff there that I am not ready to dismiss all of it. But to your earlier point, there was an idea that once CERN was fired up for the first time, this is what started to create some of these weird Mandela effects. So if you would like, I think I can do a share screen and I can show you guys some examples. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. Yeah. Go for it.
Okay, let me try it. Okay, so I've got some examples that I use for my students and for my adult classes. So can you all see my screen of Oscar Mayer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So here are some examples of the Mandela effect. So for each one, you can just yell out which one you think is correct. Let's keep it simple. You can say left or right. So here's the first one. How do you spell classic Oscar Mayer?
Right.
Left.
Okay. Oh, we got about 50-50. So correct answer, at least in our reality now, is the one on the right, Mayer. Here's the next one. Queen, sorry Beatles, maybe the best band in history, Queen. How does the song We Are the Champions end? Does it end just with We Are the Champions? Or then does Freddie Mercury come back on and go, oh, the world?
Of the world.
The second one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this time, everybody was wrong.
Man.
It's the first one. And I've had students get upset about this one, so I actually play it.
I'm gonna have to play it.
At least in our reality today, Freddie Mercury sings "Oh the World" after the second verse. It's not at the very end of the song. Okay, next one. Uncle Moneybags from Monopoly.
The one on the right.
Have a monocle
Left.
or not have a monocle.
The right.
The
The
left.
one on the right.
Left.
Right.
Oh, once again, we're about 50-50. Correct answer is monocle free.
Yes.
Okay,
I
now
cheated.
this
I saw
one,
that.
we
Oh,
might
no.
all be a little too
Pikachu.
old for this. A lot of my students know this, though. Pikachu from Pokemon, does his tail have a black stripe on the end or not? Left or right?
It doesn't
Left.
have a stripe.
Left.
Okay, this time the whole group is right. Well done. Solid yellow tail. Just a couple more here. Okay, Chick-fil-A, delicious chicken, great service. How do you actually spell chick? One on the top or one on the bottom?
On the
top.
bottom.
The top.
Oh, about 50-50. Now, funny thing on this one, I didn't know off the top of my head what it was, but I was like, I know it's spelled in a weird way. It's not the normal way. I was wrong. It's the one on the bottom. It is spelled the right way. Okay, Toucan Sam, the breakfast cereal Fruit Loops.
Everybody should know this one.
How do they spell fruit? The normal way on the left or OOT on the right?
The
the
right.
The right.
Left.
Okay, John was the contrarian. Looks like almost everybody's right. One on the right.
I never ate those.
I think they're terrible.
Oh,
All
no,
right,
they're
so this one is one of the ones that gets people fired up the most. These books are still around today, but they were best when I was a kid. Stan and Jan Berenstain and the Berenstain Bears. How is Berenstain actually spelled? S-T-A-I-N on the left or S-T-E-I-N on the right?
On the right.
On the left.
Right.
Almost everybody is wrong. It's the one on the left. Now, this one fired me up so much. When I first saw this, I actually called my mom. I was like, Mom, I need you to get my Berenstain Bear books out of the attic. I'm going to prove that the Mandela effect is real. But son of a gun, even on my books, it was spelled S-T-A-I-N.
Yep.
Then I always throw this one in at the end. Which one of Chuck Norris is correct? One on the left or one on the right?
Oh, shit.
The left.
Oh.
Answer, both are correct.
Yeah.
So, that's just one example there of the Mandela effect. So I don't know. What's everybody think on the Mandela effect? Is it legitimate or are people just sort of conflating ideas like Sean suggested earlier?
Or is it just an example of memory and why eyewitness testimony is not, that great?
Or is it like one of those things where one person thinks about one thing and then spreads the word, and then all of a sudden a group of people are thinking they all experienced the same thing, even though it really didn't or whatever, and then it becomes a reality.
Just like those things you showed us too, Oscar Mayer, right? So once you put a thought in, it separates the universe or whatever you want to call it and gives you certain lanes to go into. But when you hear it, you instead of really looking at it, you're looking at the most easiest possible answer that you have.
I still don't understand how it works. I mean, you're saying, I still can't understand it.
Oh, okay. And I apologize if I didn't explain that.
It's
one
not
clearly.
you. It's just the way I think. I'm trying to
Oh, no, it's so
comprehend it.
basically, if the Mandela effect is real, it means we're not living in a timescape reality. We're not living in a many worlds reality. We are living in one single reality where there is one timeline, and extraterrestrials or government programs or advanced civilizations, if they go back in time and change something, then that ripple effect goes forward.
Okay, so they changed something, and that's why that happens.
Well,
Yeah,
Do you
I'll give
think
you an
they could have?
example.
Do you think they could have gone back and tried to save John F. Kennedy?
I mean, I certainly would have tried that if I had the ability. So critics of the Mandela effect basically say, well, if this was actually real, why aren't we seeing more significant things like that, like John F. Kennedy alive? Why would it be Oscar Mayer hot dogs? And so believers would basically say, obviously, time travelers aren't going back and changing the name of a hot dog, but they are changing bigger things. And then that's causing a ripple effect that's changing smaller things. Or if you're a big believer in the QAnon theory, a lot of those people swear that John F. Kennedy is still alive to this day.
He's what's his name?
Wasn't that Junior?
Well, there was Junior, but then there was also the picture that surfaced of President Trump talking to the old Navy veteran, and a lot of people swore that was JFK.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not making fun of it. It's just, I think the tough thing about the Q theory is it got a lot of good Americans, patriotic people really, really excited. And at least so far, it doesn't look like any of those things have come true. So that can be tough too.
Jim, do you know that the two people they show in that QAnon video of JFK and the sister-in-law, they're from Pennsylvania, and I know both of them.
Yeah.
So I know both of them. Do you really?
Yeah,
Oh,
I do
yeah.
too.
The guy with the hat sells all the Trump stuff. He comes to all the events. He ran for state rep recently, and the female runs the Women for Trump group.
He ran for a governor.
No, he didn't run for
Or he
governor,
wanted
but he
to,
ran for
anyways.
something, yeah. But I'll give you an example, Jen, of the Mandela effect. Chasing prophecy. I know for a fact it ends in SY, not CY. That's how it's spelled. Prophecy. I mean, you could Google it, look up the word prophecy. Some spellings is SY. I thought it was SY, not CY.
Oh, Cyber Demon says Q was a Democratic psyop.
Well, you know, actually, I don't think Cyber Demon might be wrong. Quick backstory, and this is the more sinister side of Q. This actually started back during the darker days of the Soviet Union, I believe when Stalin was in power. And what the Soviets found was that there was a breakaway group that was gradually attempting, they wanted to try to overthrow Stalin. And so what they did, rather than just destroy the group, is they actually infiltrated it. They got their own people up to the top. And then it's kind of brilliant, but absolutely savage. They kept the group sending out these messages, leaking them out. And the reason they did this is so that the regular Soviet people who were really upset, who otherwise might have banded together and tried themselves to overthrow the government, basically just sat back and waited for messages from this group, which they assumed was going to be the one to overthrow the government. So, you know, I know what Cyber Demon says there, and initially it might be funny to just kind of laugh that off, but it seems like that's exactly what the Soviets under Stalin did. So I couldn't totally rule out that somebody might not do that today.
Interesting. Very. Cyber Demon, what do you have to say?
Let's ask the group, though, if you could go back in time, what would you change?
I was just going to ask that.
I read your mind.
Yeah, he read my mind. Did some Back to the Future. Read my mind.
I don't know if I would want to change anything because.
No,
really, because.
Oh, come on.
I wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
Well, not so much your future. What about the future of the world? Like, what's going on out there? I mean, I can definitely think of a number of things I'd change.
I would either
Would you be able to change them, though, you think?
If I had the capability to time travel, oh, yeah.
Well, what would you change, though, Jen?
Well,
I would
I
either
might get kicked off. We might get shadow banned. We might get kicked off if I say,
Mm.
you know what I'm thinking.
Okay, yeah.
Think about it. Going back to QAnon, sort of, somebody riding a
would've had
bicycle,
that
maybe trip
second
them, maybe push them
popsicle
over a little bit
yesterday.
further down the line,
I would either try to save JFK, or the other possibility I think of is maybe try to stop the library at Alexandria from being burned down. For those who don't know, the library at Alexandria was basically a storehouse of all the knowledge of the ancient world. So this was when the Roman Empire was stretched to its maximum extent. In the Egyptian port city of Alexandria, there was a huge library. And every time ships pulled into the port, the Greeks or the Romans would basically impound the ship, not to hurt anybody, excuse me, but they would basically take all the scrolls off the ship, have their scribes recopy the scrolls, and then they would give the copies back to the ship. They would keep the originals. And they actually boasted that they had accumulated all of the knowledge of the ancient world. And so this is around 300 BC. They already had diagrams for robotics and a working steam engine. And steam engines, I don't believe, even come out till the 1700s. But with the Roman Empire spread so thin, as Cyberdemon alluded to, they couldn't protect their borders. And so the library was burned down. Their chief scientist, Hypatia, was killed. And a lot of people think it was the Moors, a group of people that came up from Africa. But they estimate that when it was burned down, it set back human civilization about 2,000 years. So just imagine where we are right now, and then try to just imagine the year 4022 AD. I think there's a potential we could be a lot farther along.
Yeah.
Well, that's like us just
on there,
looking back
what would
on
happen
ancient
if Ro-
times, where we're at. You
Oh my
look
God.
back 2,000 years, they
Cobras.
didn't have anything that we have. And, like you said, what's going to happen in another 2,000? We won't be here, but,
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
here's the guessing.
Okay, Grandmaster UV says, are you guys cyber police spies?
Yeah, we're cyber police.
I don't
Sean
know.
is incognito.
I am.
He is a spy.
Yeah, I got a haircut.
I'm a
Yes.
spy.
No, we
Yes,
got to
definitely.
get Krug back. Krug.
These are.
He's here.
And Jenny, she looks frozen.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, I think that's your signal there, John.
No, the StreamYard is having an issue.
Oh, there John goes.
Joe even
He
said
had a good run.
he said there's
See
John,
ya.
we will continue this show in your honor.
yeah,
Thanks for
they
joining
have
Torture
too many
Tuesday.
people supposedly on the platform, and they can't keep up. Their servers aren't, I guess, big enough. They're gonna have to do something
Oh, man.
or
Hmm.
they got to fix things. I think it's John will be back hopefully.
Hey, Jim, have
Yeah.
you seen the latest YouTube videos about the guy? He's a time traveler, and he went into history beyond us, and he's taken photographs or videos of nobody being there. It's
We
just
already
one
talked
big
about
empty
this.
earth.
Is this the man that has the speech impediment? Is it that
You
guy?
got me?
Yeah, you
No.
got it, John.
John, welcome back. We missed you.
No, this guy don't talk on it.
You're
he
talking
just
about the
says-
TikTok time traveler.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him, but if you guys are interested, I definitely have in my presentation, I have some supposed pictures of accidental time travelers that
Okay.
got photographed while they were in the midst of time traveling. So I would certainly be happy to show those
Yeah,
to you if you would
definitely.
like.
Yes.
Oh yeah, please. That'd
Okay.
be great.
You don't have any pictures of Beyonce in the future, hopefully not.
Well, you know what? You're pretty close because I do have Jay-Z. So if you don't
geez.
mind, let me go ahead and share. Oh, thanks, Boots
Thanks,
the Cat.
Boots.
Okay, I think you guys will like this one. So, John, can you lay us off? Can you tell us, because I know you'll know, a little bit about doppelgangers? What are doppelgangers?
Well, that's a German term really for a person that looks exactly like you. I'm not sure if those are ghosts or not, but it's having a body double, basically.
That's perfect. That's a great explanation. Can you all see my screen right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
so I've got some actual potential evidence of time travelers in photos, but I wanted to start with doppelgangers. So John's exactly right. It comes from German and it actually translates as double goer, which is kind of interesting. And so we've got some examples of celebrity doppelgangers. So most people just consider this a quirk or a curiosity. Some have alleged, though, that it's either evidence of time travel or some of these people are not really aging and have been here for a very long time. So I think skeptically, you could basically say, well, you know what? There's probably other people out there that look like all of us. But because none of us are really that famous, or I guess John's pretty noteworthy, but a lot of people don't really know us. So if they saw somebody that looked like us, they wouldn't know it. But let me show you some examples of doppelgangers. Are these curiosities or something more?
Wow.
On the left, we have actor Michael Cera from Arrested Development. On the right, a woman painted by Donna Carmen Arconda in 1940. On the left, Keanu Reeves. On the right, man in a painting by Paul Monouet, 1875. Now, this one's good because this is an actual
wow, that really looks like him.
unnamed man, 1870s, Justin Timberlake on the right. On the left, California socialite Joseph Collins, 1964. On the right, Alec Baldwin, pre-shooting somebody. Now, how about this one? On the left,
I'll be damned.
Scary.
Matt Damon. On the right, Russian flying ace Ivan Kozedev. Now, I
That
will
is
say skeptically,
freaky.
when I saw this one, I was like, that's absolutely insane. So what I did is I searched other pictures of Ivan Kozedev. And I'll be honest, in a lot of the other ones, he doesn't look like Matt Damon at all. In this one, what helps, they're both looking the same way. They both have a similar grimace and they both have a cigarette in. So sometimes it could be the peripherals that make it look stronger than it is. How about this one? On the left, Egyptian actress Zubediah Tharwat. On the right, today's actress Jennifer Lawrence.
That's creepy.
How about this? John Travolta. On the right, real photograph, unnamed man from the Civil War, 1870. One of my favorite actors, Nicolas Cage of National Treasure fame on the left. On the right, unnamed man from the Civil War era. Now, John had joked about Beyonce. I can't get you Beyonce. I at least get you Jay-Z. So we've got Jay-Z on the left. On the right, unnamed man on a Brooklyn street corner. Not only does he look like Jay-Z, but I think you could argue he kind of has that same swagger there that Jay-Z would have. On the left, Supreme Allied Commander, General Douglas MacArthur. On the right, Bruce Willis. On the left,
oh my Lord,
Peter Dinklage. On the right, a jester in a Diego Velázquez painting, 1645. On the left, how about this one? Unnamed man in a Danish portrait. On the right, John Krasinski from The Office and Jack Ryan. Now, there's one other possibility. You probably didn't think we'd talk about this one tonight, but I had to at least throw it out there. Is there the possibility that it's not actually time travel, but we are looking at the undead? People that simply do not age, or maybe even vampires. There is at least one man out there that claims that this is the case. He calls himself simply Von Helton. And on the right, you can see what he looks like present day. And he then provides as quote unquote evidence, pictures of himself from previous time periods from a very long time ago. Most skeptics would say this guy just has too much time on his hands and just looks through historical photographs to find people that look like him. But I at least wanted to throw out the possibility there of the undead. So before we get into actual potential photographs of time travelers, let me unshare real quick. Does anybody have any questions or comments or ideas on the doppelgangers?
Could it be like they're reincarnated? I mean,
I love that idea. I mean, I'm a big believer in reincarnation, so I actually like that idea a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I was reading a book that said the Greeks believed that when you mentioned vampires, that the way you become a vampire is you were a werewolf prior to that, and you died. The dead werewolves become vampires.
I never heard that before.
That has nothing to do with doppelganger. It was a trivia piece.
I guess my only...
Does everyone in here think they have a doppelganger out there?
I haven't seen anybody. It looks like
There's a guy locally here in Ginsburg There's
What's
a guy
that?
locally here in Greensburg who looks just like me, apparently. I had this guy at the gym come up to me and start talking to me, a conversation about, oh, your son went to WVU and with my son. I said, my son went to Penn State. He goes, what are you talking about? You told me your son
Oh
was in school
gosh.
with
Or
mine.
maybe
And I'm
he's
looking at him. I
experiencing the
said,
Mandela
who are you
effect.
Yeah.
talking to? You talking to John Ventry or somebody else? He could swear that there's another guy in town who looks just like me.
I guess my
I
only
hope he
issue
don't commit
with
any crimes.
Oh, there was one time. This was hilarious. This is way back, and I think I was in my very early 20s. Buddy of mine sends me this picture of this guy that was robbed a convenience store, and it was on the news. And I always wore bandanas and stuff back then, and he looked just like me. My buddy's like, dude, did you seriously just rob a convenience store? And I was like, what are you talking about? He sent me the thing. I was like, oh no,
Oh,
they're gonna
no.
come and take me away. I was like, jeez.
That's funny. That's
Oh,
Nina,
that was
Nina,
sweating bullets for a minute.
Nina thinks that you can't be reincarnated if you've already. What is she saying? Yeah. Well, I was thinking more like the ones that like the Nicolas Cage. I mean, yeah, he could have been. He was alive, but he could be. How long ago was that picture taken? I mean, with Nicolas Cage.
That was
And
1870s.
yeah, he could have been reincarnated, or there was a couple other ones. The one John Travolta, and well, there's a number of them that could have been.
Well, I mean, it makes
Well,
you wonder.
Nicolas Cage.
As people, we all have, we got a head, body, and everything, and a face. We're bound to somewhere have something almost identical to somebody else somewhere. So.
The cyber demons
Yeah.
convinced they're all vampires.
Why do you think that, Cyber? Why do you think they're all vampires?
What kind of vampire? Are they just psychic vampires? Are they actually vampires that suck the blood, or they just don't die? They're just immortal.
They're vampires that are immortal because they don't age.
Yeah, but
Look
what
at like
causes
Jennifer
them?
Aniston.
But
Keanu
why
Reeves.
are they? How are they
Tom
vampires?
Cruise.
Yeah, Tom
Jim,
Cruise. He looks the same.
Jim, what do you think? Could they just be somebody just doesn't die? I mean, they're like.
Well, that's a good question. Earlier with reincarnation, Jen, you brought that up, and I'm a strong believer in reincarnation, but I've also never read cases where you reincarnate and you look like exactly the same person.
That's
Usually
true.
it's the soul of the person gets put into a different container then. So on the vampire front, and maybe John could speak to this because John, I'm sure you know him well, is very, very into the demonic idea and to people basically making trade-offs for things in this life to give up what comes next. And sometimes I consider the possibility, we look at the famous people in the world today. Sometimes I think to myself, especially with some of the revelations that have come out about celebrities, I think, what did they actually give up to get to where they are? And, is there a chance that the people are able to attain these earthly things, but the horrible trade-off is they basically just get stuck here over and over again, and they don't get to move on like the rest of us. So I don't know whether you'd call that a vampire or what you'd feel comfortable calling
make a
it.
It
deal
just
with the
sounds
devil.
sad. It sounds like evil.
Do you
and demonic.
imagine
That comes to me as Lady Gaga, because she has even said it. I made a deal with the devil.
She said that?
Well, they lose their soul. There's no doubt in my mind that they lose their soul. So they're soulless humans after that. But can you imagine really keep coming back or living forever?
No.
Sometimes life gets really boring,
Mm-hmm.
And as far as Nicolas Cage goes, he spends so much money. He probably has lived since the 1870s because that guy, he makes
Doesn't
millions
age.
and he spends even more than that.
I don't know. I'm thinking more. So I'm hoping it could be just time traveling. Like they time travel. They
So
just
would you
go-
folks like me to share some examples of supposed
I love you
Oh, my
sharing.
God, please,
This
please.
is the great. This I'm
Okay.
enjoying this so much.
You guys are so kind. Okay, so these are some pretty good ones, and I'll throw them out there. I'll give you both sides, and then you and your listeners can decide on your own. So potential examples of time travelers caught on camera. So this one is called the time traveling hipster. Can everybody spot the time traveler here?
Oh yeah, there he
Right
is.
there.
There he is.
Okay, so this one was photographed in Canada. This was a bridge opening in British Columbia back in the 40s. So it must have been pretty momentous because everybody looks really excited except for this one man. You can see he looks a little bit out of place because not only is everybody else clean shaven, they have on suits and ties, but this man, not only is he looking a slightly different direction than everybody else, but he looks somewhat grungy, like somebody might look from like the 1990s. He looks like he has modern wraparound sunglasses. He's wearing a flannel, and he has a very small camera in his hands for the 1940s. Now, here's what skeptics say. They say that basically what you're seeing here is a combination of things that people didn't think were around yet in the 40s, but actually were. So the sunglasses, even though they look more modern, they did have those back then. The camera seems very small for the 40s, but Kodak actually did manufacture one called the Vigilant Junior 620. And nobody's quite sure about the shirt. A lot of people think it looks like a modern screen printed t-shirt, but some skeptics have suggested it's actually the top of a sweater that was for an NHL team at the time, the Montreal Maroons. All right, so number 2, there is a video of this, but I'll just show you the still frame. This was from a silent film from Charlie Chaplin, The Circus. And it actually made the news a couple years ago because somebody found it. And it looks like a woman walks right through the shot on a cell phone. And so a lot of people thought this had proved that time travel to the past was possible. Skeptics, though, say that this is actually an early hearing aid, which was not mounted inside the ear like hearing aids today, but you actually had to hold it up to your ear, kind of like a reverse megaphone. So one of my problems, and we'll see, there's a number of pictures out there of people allegedly on cell phones prior to cell phones being invented. But my take is, even if you...
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but I've been getting message that our sound is out from several different people. Nobody can hear us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We're getting too close to the truth, I think.
Yep.
Maybe.
That's weird.
Yes.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
just got a message from 2 different people in 2 different sides of the
Oh, wow.
county here that our sound is out.
I wonder why we can hear each other. Do
I know.
Sinister.
you want to all
No,
sign back in?
And
or
you
what?
know what, Jim?
Can anybody hear us?
I stopped sharing. Maybe that'll help.
No.
I don't think
mean,
so. Can you
no.
guys hear us?
Can anybody hear us out there? We're
Cyber
getting notified our
Demon.
sound is out.
But you
It
know,
does sound oddly quiet, doesn't it? Like, I don't hear any...
Oh, that's probably because someone's listening. Oh, D said they can hear us.
Okay.
Cyber Demon can hear us. Okay, must be
maybe.
just on certain.
Only
But you
probably-
know what, Jim? Here's what's crazy. We got into some really deep topics on the show before, and that, I mean,
Right.
you know, we were getting zapped because they were like scattering our voices and stuff like that.
Wow.
Oh yeah, we get watched.
I
don't
think
know if
back to I think back to the Coast to Coast AM interview. Was it George Newry who was interviewing that supposed worker from Area 51, and then the whole show just cut out, and officially
Yeah.
they claimed
Yeah.
they had lost satellite link?
Bob Lazar. He was
Uh-huh,
interviewing
Bob
Bob
Lazar.
Lazar.
I believe it. They
I
always
know.
they don't want you to. They don't want people
I
knowing.
tell you what, I did the Kevin Smith show, which was the first show I ever did. He's out in Arizona. He had a big following. He passed away a few years ago, but twice on his show, never with UFOs, but sometimes we diverged into end time prophecy. It was the Mayan calendar back then. And when I started talking about the supervolcano, out west, one time the signal went all the way down, didn't go off the air. One time we went off the air. Another show I did talking about the Yellowstone supervolcano, we're talking, and then, like 20, 30 minutes later, there's a helicopter above my house hovering. And the guy on the show says to me, John, what is that noise? And I said, there's a helicopter right above me right here hovering. So it's funny, it was always the Yellowstone supervolcano, but never UFOs, that I went off the air or almost took the signal down.
Isn't it kind of strange, John, how little is actually said about the Yellowstone supervolcano, even though
Yeah, no one's
potentially that
talking
could be a
about that.
civilization ender right there?
Yeah. Well, there's a whole history behind that, because Obama come to office in 2008. '06 was when they got very concerned about it. And I think when he took office, they briefed him. And if you remember back then, they bought all these caskets and they had them staged, and they had the country broken up into internment camps and segmented out.
It was a Jade Helm 15 operation. I remember that.
Yeah, and the weirdest thing was government agencies were buying hollow tip bullets. 1.2, 1.6 billion hollow tipped bullets. And their explanation was, well, we use them for target shooting. Nobody uses hollow tips for target shooting because they're too expensive. And I just saw an article about 2 weeks ago, same thing. Why is the IRS buying 300,000 rounds of hollow tip? You know, it's like, so what? The government is supposed to survive a catastrophe and the people aren't? They're going to start firing on us? I mean, they don't care about.
Maybe I'm guilty of linking together two unrelated things, but sometimes I think about all the secrecy around UFOs, and I think, well, why aside from the technological game and the panic to the public, why are they keeping it so secret? But sometimes I wonder, is there a chance an advanced civilization is basically holding us hostage? Is it that big of a stretch to think, what if a civilization came here and said, look, if you reveal our presence, we're going to trigger the Yellowstone supervolcano right now, and it's going to be lights out. We are the only thing keeping that from erupting. So I just wonder, you know, things like that, or another civilization could hold an asteroid strike over our head. I think there's a lot of surprising things that could explain the government's secrecy, why they have to keep UFOs so secret.
Do you know that the Russians, one of their plans for war against us was to hit the Yellowstone supervolcano with a thermonuclear weapon to ignite it, to destroy the United States? Yeah, that's in their plans. But they don't realize what happens is it blows, if it's a full eruption, it blows into the upper stratosphere. You go into a nuclear winter, you get acid rain as fallout, and like 90% of everything dies. And I'll tell you an interesting story on the last volcanic eruption in the Philippines 72,000 years ago, if you believe in that timeline of history. But you have this guy, he's at a symposium, he's and they're talking, he's a geneticist, a biologist, and he's an archaeologist, let's say. So they're talking about genetic wise that they knew that our gene pool had shrunk down to about 1,000 humans on the entire planet. And they didn't know why that took place 72,000 years ago. So he said, wait a second, I know for a fact that this supervolcano blew in the Philippines 72,000 years ago. And that's what happened. The whole planet died down to about 1,000 humans. That's all that was left that could survive it.
Was that the Toba supervolcano?
Yeah, if that's the one in the Philippines, yeah.
And it actually seems, I mean, maybe I could come back sometime. We could talk Planet X Nibiru stuff, but there were actually scientists.
Absolutely.
There were scientists back in the 90s, very forward thinking. They were starting to look at the history of extinctions here on the Earth, and they started to find a real pattern to it. And they started to ask, could that be the periodic passing of some really deep solar system object swinging through our inner solar system, not hitting the Earth, but knocking a number of comets and asteroids off course with its gravitational pull? It certainly makes sense to me.
I think the gravitational pull could ignite the supervolcano. If you get that pulling effect, it could just blow. But you want to hear something sad? There's 8 supervolcanoes around the world, and 3 are in the United States.
And they haven't gone, yeah,
but the Yellowstone is the one that's the most active. It blew 640,000 years. No, it blows every 640,000 years, and it's been 700,000. So
it's quiet.
It's 60,000 years overdue. And I think with Obama and all of that, they believed the supervolcano was going to erupt in 2008. Because I'll tell you an interesting story. This group of professionals that graduated Harvard or Yale, they would meet every 5 years up at Yellowstone and have like a reunion. Well, when they went up there, they went and they looked, and the lake had moved. They said, what's going on here? The lake, the ground swelled up. You could see the docks, and the lake had moved over, and the trees were underwater, 8 feet, whatever the trunk of the trees. So they actually paid and got those little camera things on the tripod to do surveys, and they proved that the ground had swelled up. And they were the first ones to actually report that back in 06, 07. That's the first time I had heard about it. And then the blacktop there, it got so hot sometimes the road would melt. So I think Obama, when he came to office, they were convinced that thing was going to blow.
That sounds convincing.
Let Mother Nature do her thing.
Well, so land can move. I mean, like if
you figure it swells up, the lake, the water's going to just move to the side.
But just not volcanoes. I had this in my own backyard. I have a bonfire pit, and I swear it has moved across. It has moved literally closer to the tree line.
You got the Nicasio Mountains out there.
No, I think because there's mines subsided, and I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with that. I mean, there's mines under the ground.
That's like a Mandela effect.
Yes, that's right.
It moved from here to there.
It did.
But here's what's been blowing my mind, and this might be a little bit off the topic, is look at Lake Mead. How they're just losing so much water out there.
Yeah.
Lake Mead.
Yeah. I mean, why? And it's like it's getting sucked
There's
up.
a hole going somewhere, an underground tunnel that the aliens are going to.
I don't know, man, but they just keep talking about how much water Lake Mead's losing. And
I never heard anything about it.
Yeah.
20 years ago, I rented a boat with my kids out at Lake Mead. And I remember the level of the water, and you could only see a little bit of that whitish. And you look at it now, there's a drought, and the lake is way down. It's like you got 100 feet on the rocks there of the water dropping. And they're talking about running like a pipeline from the Mississippi River all the way across the country to, Arizona, Nevada, and try to connect some of that runoff water to there. Because what's going to happen, the Southwest, Vegas, California, all of that, they're not going to have water. And they did all that building there in Henderson and Las Vegas. And that's another one. First time I went there 20 years ago, Henderson wasn't really there. And the Rio was sitting out there like 2 miles away, and there's nothing. Now that whole thing is developed, overdeveloped, the entire Southwest.
And I think the world's elite already realize this about water. Basically, they're a couple decades ahead of regular people like us. When I did a mission trip to Haiti, this was 6 years ago, and the people down there were sharing how the Clintons were already buying up a lot of land there because Haiti, despite being such a poor country, probably the poorest in the Western Hemisphere, sits right on top of a gigantic freshwater aquifer. And the Bush family is actually doing the same thing with ground in Central America. So I think probably a lot of the power players in the world know that the wars of the future aren't necessarily going to be over oil, but they're going to be over fresh water. Sean, I've heard the thing about Lake Mead. I personally don't think it's a sinister thing. I think they're just drawing so much from it to try to cover the capacity that they're losing because they're just not getting the rain out there, and there's a growing population that they can't fill.
Ooh, okay.
Remember the James Bond movie was over water, like the third one with Daniel Craig? Remember that? It was over the controlling water.
Was it Quantum of Solace, Skyfall?
Yeah, I think it was Quantum of Solace. That one was about controlling water.
Yeah, I think a lot of those James Bond movies, especially No Time to Die, I think a lot of those tend to tease us about what's coming down the road, and people don't see it, but they're scarily accurate sometimes. Would you guys like me to finish up just the part about time travelers' photograph?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Please.
All right, very cool. Hopefully our sound doesn't go out again.
I don't think it's you. I think it's just StreamYards is over. They need to do something with their servers.
It's a three-letter agency.
Yeah.
All right, so this one was kind of cool, and it's still not been totally proven false. You can find the video online. This was a Swedish man named Håkan Nordqvist, and he actually had a video posted to YouTube where he saw a leak coming from his sink, and he actually opened up under his sink to try to fix it. But instead of seeing all of the plumbing, he actually found a brightly lit tunnel. Now, most people would have stayed the heck away from it.
Yeah.
Nordquist, though, decides to climb through the tunnel, and he ends up encountering his future self in 2042.
Oh
And
my
they
God.
actually hold out their forearms showing the matching tattoos.
That is so
Now,
bizarre.
some skeptics believe that this was a clever viral marketing campaign from an insurance company. The one thing I will say is, if it is, it's very, very well done. It's fairly easy to Photoshop a photograph, but to actually do it with video is more challenging. So that one's kind of neat.
Yeah,
Now,
it
this
is.
one, this is a photograph from 1917 called the Cape Scott Time Traveler. So once again, think back to the time traveling hipster. When you look at this photograph, everybody looks about like what you would expect in the 19 teens, except this one man that I have circled. Not only do you see grungy hair, but notice the man sitting right beside him seems to be leaning back. A woman over here seems to be pointing in his general direction. And a number of people point out that he's wearing a t-shirt while everybody else is in full suits and formal clothing. But then skeptics point out the t-shirt was actually invented in 1913, 4 years earlier. So was this man just wearing cutting edge technology? Because his hair was messed up, he looks a little bit out of place. This one's kind of funny. This was a real ad that appeared in Backwoods Country magazine.
Hold on a second, Jim. Go
I've
back
seen
to
this
that other
before.
one.
Yep.
Go back one. Look at his shorts. Those are modern day shorts. I'd like to see shorts from back then. Weren't they very baggy? I mean, there was a totally different look to shorts back then.
You know, funny thing, John, despite all the times I've looked at this picture,
You
I've
never
never
noticed it.
actually looked at his shorts. I guess because they blended in with the woman's hat in front.
Yeah.
It definitely looks like he's wearing cut-off jeans or something. That's
And they're fairly tight, which I don't think was
Yeah.
the style. I would say go back and look at shorts in 1917 and see what they look like. I bet you they're very baggy or and even long, maybe below the knee.
That's a good call. I've never actually looked at his shorts. That's a great observation. So this one is great. It came from Backwoods Country magazine. Wanted somebody to go back in time with me. This is not a joke. And they list the address. You'll get paid after we get back. Must bring your own weapons. Safety not guaranteed. I have only done this once before, and I've never seen it, but they made a spin-off indie film from this called Safety.
I remember I seen that.
Did you? Was it good?
What was the name of the film?
I can't remember.
Not
What was it?
guaranteed.
Yeah.
Okay.
How was it, Jen?
I liked it. I
Yeah.
really did. I really
Yeah.
liked it.
All right, so a couple good ones, and this kind of gets into like an ancient aliens thing, which I know always gets John all fired up. But these are kind of neat. Check some of these out. Officially, according to archaeologists, these are basically
Look at the
showing
laptop.
jewelry boxes. But what's kind of interesting is they're very, very thin. Sometimes the people holding them look like they're also holding a stylus or a pointer, like on this one. Here, the woman is opening it just like you would open a jewelry box today. And what's really interesting is a lot of these
Oh,
carvings
my
even have
God.
holes in the sides where you might have USB ports.
It's a computer.
Now, I've got a couple supposed photographs. Have any of you ever heard of Andrew Basaggio?
Yeah.
No.
John, do you want to give us a quick backstory on Basaggio?
You know, I don't know a lot about him. He was a speaker at one of the MUFON symposiums like in 2016 or 15.
Yeah.
And another guy that talks about time travel. But go ahead.
Yeah, he is actually recognized by the bar in Washington. He's not only a lawyer, but he holds multiple doctoral degrees. And a couple years ago, he actually did run for president. He didn't make it far enough to actually get his name on the ballot, but I actually saw his site and it was wild. It was all about just ending all government secrecy. And so his big alleged claim to fame, this comes up with Mars, is he actually claimed he was a part of Project Pegasus, which was secret time travel with a young Barack Obama. And so according to Basaggio, this right here, this boy is supposedly him going back in time to see Abraham Lincoln's famous Gettysburg Address. And he claimed that he was barefooted because the time travel in the process, he actually lost his shoes. Now, certainly makes for a good story, but honestly, what would prevent anybody from finding some old photograph and just basically picking one person and saying, yeah, that's me. I'm a time traveler right there. So we can't rule it out, but it certainly would be tough to prove.
But why didn't he leave Obama on Mars?
Good question.
That would have been my thing.
Things may have worked out a lot differently today if that had happened, John. I'm not opposed to that idea. So just to show you both sides and potentially what you've got to be careful of with hoaxes. So this is Billy Meyer, whom I'm sure John knows pretty well. So neat backstory on Billy. He, as far as I know, did not even finish elementary school. He definitely didn't finish high school. And so he was a man in the 1970s living in rural Switzerland. And he claimed to have a series of encounters from friendly humanoid extraterrestrials originating from the Pleiades star cluster. And he claimed that they would take him aboard their beam ships and not only take him to explore the cosmos, but different time periods as well. And so to substantiate his claim, Billy claimed that the Pleiadians actually gave him permission to photograph their beam ships up close. Now, when you look at these, initially you think, oh my gosh, those have to be hoaxed. Yeah. But interestingly, a number of people did photographic analysis, and they never actually found any evidence of manipulation in these pictures. But then at one point, Billy does end up getting caught. So he basically provides photographs of some of the Pleiadians named Asket and Nera. He also provided a photograph of a pterodactyl that he supposedly saw when they took him back to the Mesozoic era. But what's interesting is people found that same picture in an obscure book called Life Before Man. And then as for Asket and Nera, people actually matched that up to a photograph of singers on the Dean Martin show. And Billy's own wife actually found small models of the beam ships in his desk, which Billy claimed that he actually made after the fact to see if he could photograph them. So what's interesting is a lot of people dismiss it as a hoax. The one thing that still makes you think is the ideas that Billy came up with, he was coming up with decades ahead of his time. Things like 0-point energy and time travel and teleportation, almost like just as soon as people were ready to write Billy off, he came up with another idea way ahead of his time. So this one's still interesting to me today.
Let me add a little bit to Billy Myers, because I was skeptical about him. But, you know, he also said that in his contact, it was one of them was a female that would come called Sem Jace. And when you look up Sem Jace, that's a fallen angel. Okay. And there's a description in one of the books I read of him at a party, and he was able, and they weren't parlor tricks, you know, like bending spoons or something like that. He would go into almost a trance, and he would hold, you know, spoons, and they would just curl over. They'd put coins in his hand. He'd close his hand and it would like heat up to 200 degrees and it would melt down into a solid object. And, you know, I don't remember the whole description, but as I was reading it, the different things that happened, like tables shaking, things moving across tables, I'm saying to myself that here's another example in this UFO field of a demonic encounter. And that's absolutely what this guy was doing and was being described. Because I had done some analysis, and maybe the only person that's ever compared alien abductions to demonic infestations, and then went back and read almost all of the UFO abduction cases and picked out, let's say, the top 10 or so that to me were demonic encounters and had nothing to do with aliens. But his was very... You read it and it's like you step back and say, this guy's under demonic control or something, what he was doing.
That's interesting. One other possibility just to throw out there that doesn't involve aliens, what about Nazis? So here you can see a painting showing one of Billy's standard encounters and how he described the extraterrestrials. But if you do a side-by-side with Maria Orsich, who was one of the medians from the Nazi Vril Society, all of whom disappeared. And a lot of people think the Nazis were pretty close to anti-gravity ships with the Haunaboos, or maybe even time travel with the Bell. So some people have asked, were these actually Germans that had time traveled forward? And because the technology seems so advanced, Billy basically just made an incorrect assumption that he was actually interacting with extraterrestrials. It's sort of a neat plot twist to throw in there.
Well, I mean, that craft they're showing does look like a Haunabu, you know.
Oh,
really
absolutely it does. So I know the show's going a little long. Let me just show you two more examples that are kind of neat. Now, this one first surfaced in the Weekly World News. If you could actually time travel, would you use it for the benefit of humanity, or would you use it to make yourself stinking rich? So supposedly that's what Andrew Carlson did. Is he was allegedly a time traveler that came to 2003 with only $800 in his pocket. But being from the future, he knew exactly what stocks were going to hit and where. So the story went on to say that he turned that into $350 million in only short weeks, which raised a lot of white flags. And then he got busted for insider trading and disappeared. Now, I'd say a lot of people would dismiss that one as just some tabloid fodder, but one that's tougher to dismiss, this would be a good one to end on. So at the top, you can see some shots from Back to the Future 2, which I'd say out of the trilogy, which is excellent, is probably the most forgotten of the three. But this is the one where Marty McFly actually does travel to the future. And you might remember his bully nemesis, Biff, sneaks and comes with him. Young Biff then meets old Biff from the future. Old Biff gives young Biff a sports almanac to take back in time and then amass his fortune because he knows all the outcomes of the game. So down below, you can see a yearbook from, at the time, Chicago area teenager Michael Lee. And if you look at the styles here, this was a late 90s yearbook. And so down below, for his dedication, he writes, Chicago Cubs 2016 World Champs. Well, the Cubs actually ended up winning the World Series in 2016. Now, you might think, well, yeah, but the Cubs were pretty good for a while. But understand, when Michael Lee made this dedication, the Cubs were in the midst of the longest run in professional sports history without an actual championship. And so people actually track Michael Lee down and they ask, why did you actually put that inscription? And he said he recalled a very, very vivid dream in the late 90s. He recalled being at Wrigley Field. It was dark out and the stadium was packed. The team was celebrating on the field. Everybody was going crazy. And he remembered seeing a scoreboard flashing over and over again, Chicago Cubs 2016.
Wow.
I love that.
Terrible, but they ended up beating the Cleveland Indians that year to win it all. So maybe we do have some real examples of time travel out there after all. So I don't want to talk too long. I thought that would be a good place just to kind of end this mini presentation tonight.
That was great.
Thanks.
This is sweet, dude. Please
was
come.
Definitely, you have to come back, Jim, because I found this to be one of the best shows I ever watched.
Oh, thanks, Jen. Well, you know, the funny thing, I got a text from John this morning at like 10 a.m. He's like, hey, do you want to be on a show tonight? I was like, all right, we'll make it happen. So maybe if I get a couple more days notice next time, we can make it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. We'll have to put you on the books.
For
I'll have
sure.
to email you, find a day that you can come back on. I think it was great.
That sounds
Thank
great.
you.
John, thanks for making the connection for me as always. You always introduce me to so many amazing people. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you
Very
so much for
informative.
being on
Thank
the
you.
show again, Jim. You
Thank
have
you
a
for
great
coming to
night.
Torture Tuesday.
Hey, Jim, I'm always trying to find a replacement for me.
Someday, John. Someday, my friend. See
You have a great
everybody.
rest of the night.
You too.
Safe.
Well, we're going to take a real quick break and say thank you, Carnation, for being our second hour sponsor. If you want something fabulous to drink, check it out. Carnation has essentials breakfast, high in protein, low in carbs, and a great way to start your morning. Thanks again. Wow, that was wonderful, John.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
bringing him on.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
I tell you
God.
what, you got to listen to his presentations at Pittsburgh and Philly. Well, we got him coming to Pittsburgh, WCCC in Youngwood next April. The guy gives his presentations are so good. Well, you saw that, and being an astronomer, and he explains this stuff.
Oh my God.
And we've had him do.
Well, here the four of us can go to his presentation next
That'd be
year.
Yeah,
cool.
definitely next
Yeah,
year.
it'll be April. You know what? I don't know. Well, the show is on a Saturday. Can you pre-record something and do your
Yeah.
show there at the conference, April 29th?
We can probably do
We could
something
do
like that.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
could do that.
Definitely.
I mean, you spoke at the conference, Sean, years ago.
Years
Yeah.
ago. I did,
9 or 10 was when you were there, right?
Yes.
That was a
yes.
long time
But
ago.
What did you
were the
talk about,
first
Sean?
one We did in 09. That's where you were.
Yep. And yeah, that was great. It was a nice time. A lot of good people.
Yeah.
I enjoyed myself. That was good.
No, we'll definitely have to do that. Put that on the calendar.
Let me just say it's at that conference you were at, we had a speaker, Nick somebody locally here from Greensburg, and he was talking about near-death experiences and all of that. And he taught a class at WCCC on near-death experiences, and I went there with my girlfriend, and it was cool. It was interesting. And then he said, we're going to go to a cemetery, and he's got all the equipment, and we were going to do some stuff, right? So all of a sudden, in the last couple of classes, we got these Brazilian people show up, and they start talking about Macumbe and all of this stuff, and they pretty much took the group over, and he canceled the class. I don't know if you remember the guy, Nick. I don't remember his last name.
I don't remember. No.
Yeah, but it was very interesting. And then they showed up. That's why there's always something darker. Like you could be talking about this stuff, but I'm telling you, there are people out there that they are in direct connection with the dark side and demons and everything.
George Soros.
Yeah, they take it to another level, where they sell their
Right.
soul for these gains. And you know what? Life here on Earth is, 70 years or so that you can enjoy the money, but that ain't eternity. You gave your soul up, and that's for.
I don't understand that.
I would never do something like that.
No. I
But
wouldn't.
what if
Yeah,
you're
there was,
reincarnated and your soul ends up in another vessel?
Yeah, or you become a
Also,
vampire and you live forever.
Yeah.
Mm.
You just keep coming back, do it again.
But I
and
did
again.
do a show on my Into the Night show about reincarnation, and you have the choice if you want to come back.
Yeah,
or
I
not.
believe you have a choice.
You have a choice, and sometimes you don't have a choice that you just get put back in.
I wouldn't want to come back.
What do you think about
Oh.
reincarnation of animals? Like a lot of people.
Oh,
yeah,
definitely. I
absolutely.
believe
You
that.
know, when a
Definitely,
pet passes, that sometimes they get
yeah.
another one, and
Oh, yeah.
you feel like the souls and
It's funny with reincarnation. I never I'm not into war movies. I've got some guns and rifles, but I'm not into that stuff. I feel like if reincarnation's true, I lived back in the Knights or the Roman period. There is something about metal and swords. Like if you ever saw my house, when the entranceway up the stairs, I got at least 30 different types of swords going up the stairs, on the wall, everything. And there is something about steel, that if I lived, I probably lived back then. And I said, I am not coming back again. I'm done with this. And then I waited 1,000 years.
maybe
and
you're
then
a blacksmith.
back.
A knight.
Yeah.
But should you recognize Carnation, the sponsor, since we're talking about reincarnation?
Yeah,
Yes, we
carnation.
did.
Yeah,
I just did.
Mhm.
that's
Carnations.
pretty cool. But yeah, I believe in reincarnation. And if I don't want to come back, but if I do come back, I want to come back as an animal. So, I don't want.
What animal would you be, Sean?
Oh, wolf.
Yeah, me too. I want to
Cool.
come back as the werewolf of God. I want to be a good wolf that kills all the bad people.
What would you come back as, Jason?
Oh, I don't know. I probably wouldn't come back.
No.
That's the way I feel right now
Nah.
too. I don't want to come back.
I don't want to come back.
I already lived here once.
That's
pretty-
enough.
There's too much. I don't
My
know.
brother.
Or what if you're what if you could be reincarnated, but like 2,000 years in the future, but remember everything from present day.
Well, there are plenty of cases of people, these young kids, that give full descriptions of being in a war, who their friends were, and then they go and they look it up, and all those people were in his unit. My brother used to tell me stories when we were young, 8, 9 years old. He absolutely believes in reincarnation, and I can't remember his stories, but he would tell me these stories of other lives that he lived. And I spoke to him about that a couple of months ago, and he absolutely believes in reincarnation. Sometimes I take the biblical look, and with that, you only live once, according to the Christian belief.
I like your sunglasses there, Jen.
Well, that's because I'm stalling so much.
I'm wearing off on her.
If I look, see,
Right.
it's such a lag. I figure you can't see me. I'll be like Jason.
You can't see me.
You look like Sophia Loren with the sunglasses.
Thank you.
Sophia Loren.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Damn.
Yes. I always wanted to be an actress.
Well, that's the Italian. You got the Italian one.
Yeah, so I thought this was a really good show. Well,
Absolutely.
this one's good. John's gonna like this one. This is a definite show for you. Next week we have Stan Gordon on the show.
Oh Jesus, that's going to be interesting.
We
have two different views of
I
Kex.
know.
Do we need
there's
to
the
bring the
Kecksburg.
popcorn?
Well, they're finally
bit?
having
Popcorn and coffee.
after the pandemic. This is the first Kecksburg festival that they're having. I'm going to it. I'm going with my children, my
Did you say
sons.
Pittsburgh?
Kecksburg.
Kecksburg.
The festival. It's really, you guys should go because it's really cool. John, you did
Speaking
a
of
presentation
Kecksburg.
there.
They used to have me every year give a presentation, and then I did research with an engineer, and we pretty much explained the Kecksburg UFO away as a spy satellite. And they stopped inviting me. I used to sell a lot of books there. It was actually pretty good. I'd have a table, and I'd sell about 30, 40 books. They stopped inviting me because I presented an alternative theory of Kecksburg.
Well, getting back to that, on the vessel, there was this what do you call it? Inscription. But you said it was Navy, or was it Air Force?
Well, the engineer said that there would be markings on them because, and we could talk about this next week, that they were actually those GE Mark II reentry vehicles were sent to England, then brought back. And and he did have a picture of one that had some stuff on the bottom like that.
Yeah,
but they weren't real hieroglyphic like was
I don't know. It's still fun to go because they do have a lot of speakers about UFO and aliens, and it's fun.
No, it's a good time. It's a good time. I'm a little disappointed they don't invite me anymore. You offer an alternative.
Well, maybe you should give them a call and tell them. Well, they didn't have it for the last 3 years.
They kicked me out of everything because
you
I'm
got kicked out of the church. You got kicked out of
everything.
Get kicked out of church?
Do you think there's something you're doing that's going to get kicked out?
This one woman said to me, "You don't have any filters." I said, "I'm retired. I don't have to watch what I say anymore."
Yeah, you got to watch those filters though, because it can get you in trouble.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be fun. I'm going to go.
I'm disappointed because I thought it was a real UFO that landed in Kecksburg.
Well, wait till next week.
Don't say that because Stan's going to come on.
Yeah, Stan will present, and then I'll say, "Well, could it be this?" And then Stan, I'll give the one explanation, the scientific, and he'll give the urban legend explanation.
Okay, and that means I'm going to bring coffee and popcorn and just sit back and listen.
Can you do a poll with the listening audience, and then
yes, we can. You give me the poll, and we'll post it up.
So who they believe? Me?
Yeah, or Stan.
Spy satellite, or Stan as a alien craft.
Now, does Stan know that John's going to be on the show?
No.
Yeah, don't tell him.
If he's he won't be on if he knows John's on it.
Yeah, don't tell him.
Goes back to the one show we had. Oh my God. Remember we had that big panel?
Oh my God, all 9 of them. Yeah, you were on that panel, John.
Yeah, John, remember the panel you were on?
That was a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah.
And that poor dude that
there almost was a fight.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It was because some dude wrote like 11 books and somebody we know kind of like put him in his tracks. And
Joe.
I felt bad for the old boy, you know, because he was like really sourpuss.
He was mad.
Oh, was he mad? My
It
God.
got really good ratings that night.
Yeah, we did.
Well, you know, you could, with all of this stuff, there's an alternative explanation. So it's like no matter what you say in this entire field, you know, some skeptic will give something, or, you know, you'll say it's this, but somebody else say it's that. And, you know, there's no real proof. There's very, very real proof to any of this, but it does happen. It occurs.
Yeah, I hear you. I was trying to get
nobody knows what it is.
Travis Walton on the show. He will not answer any of my emails. Guess he doesn't like us.
Did everybody just freeze? My screen looks like they're all frozen.
It's terrible. As long as we have audio. Yeah, I do hope Joe fixes or gets in contact with StreamYard, because it's just not me. It's all of you guys.
Yeah.
So it's something with the platform. They need to fix it.
Maybe they're doing it old Japanese
style. I might have to go back to Skype. We never had any freezing on Skype, did we? Well, you guys didn't do video. You only did the audio.
You know,
Jason, were you on Skype?
You were on Skype, Jason.
Well, he's just phoning around now.
So yeah, I think when I joined on, we was on Skype for a little bit and then switched.
Yeah. We never froze on.
You add me to this thing, and all of a sudden,
it says demonic presences.
I'm telling you, sometimes
I'm never coming to your house.
This light's not on right now, but during these shows, I'll be not this show, but other shows. All of a sudden, the thing, whoop, and then it gets dim, and it gets bright.
Do you use Sage to go around your house?
Have you called an electrician?
No, I don't do pagan stuff.
No,
all I do is call upon Jesus.
Well, yeah. Do you call Jesus? Say, hey, buddy, can you fix it over here?
Usually not in the middle of the show. I don't call, Jesus commands you to leave. I don't do that in the middle of a show. But look.
Do you have it blessed? Did you ever get it blessed?
Yeah,
you just have an exorcism.
I told you the first time the priest came by, he's blessing the house. And I asked him about what do you think about generational sins of the father, for 3 or 4 generations. And that's the priest that said to me, come on, Satan's not a real character.
Oh, that's terrible.
Well, I said, well, this blessing's not going to work.
Yeah, that's how you mean to get a new priest.
Really going to aggravate whatever's there.
But I tell you what, seriously, a couple of months ago, we filmed 2 episodes for my YouTube channel. It was maybe only 6 weeks ago. In the while we're filming, there's a tap on the wall, and I'm watching the cameraman, and he turns and looks. Then there's a tap in the other corner of the room. He turns and looks, and I said, and right on film, I said, you heard that, right? He goes, yeah, I heard it. I said, yeah, that happens all the time. Yeah. We start filming again.
Times on the ceiling.
4 or 5 seconds later, another tap closer to us, and I pointed it out on film. There are times I know when they're here, you hear that tap, and I'm glad.
Don't stop it. I don't want to talk about that. Something makes me scared.
But there are times he follows me down the hallway upstairs into the bedroom, even into the bathroom. And I got to tell her, give me some privacy, all right?
Who the hell is Bella Brown?
What?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
There is a. I just want to. You know how you call somebody on Messenger?
Yeah.
Who's Bella Brown? Missed call. Mike on Skype.
Who's calling you?
Skype. Bella Brown, and I don't have Skype no more.
Maybe they heard us talking about Skype.
I'm serious, because I don't have Skype no more in an app. I don't. Oh,
somebody was listening to. Somebody heard that we use Skype. That's why. We're not on Skype. We're on StreamYards right now.
I don't know, John. You're sending that crap over to my house, man.
Good.
Well, I'll tell you something. Well, let me tell you something. I was dating this girl in Pittsburgh, this girl from Italy. She had a green card, right? And we went out a few times, and I was having all of this stuff at the house, and I was telling her about it, right? So it never really developed. She said, we're not going out. And so she calls me about 2 years later, and she goes, John, do you know for the last 6 months at 3 a.m. every morning in the kitchen, there's a boom, boom, Boom. She goes, I've talked to the landlord. They checked the plumbing. I spoke to the neighbors. Some of them can hear it also. It's an apartment building, right? So she goes, I recorded it. And she goes, I'm going to play it for you. I knew when she did that, it was coming through the phone back to me. And that's why she did that. She played it, and I had the banging sounds here in the house for about a week or so. And I think that's how she got rid of it. She sent it back to me, you know?
Why do you think it had to go through the phone and not just come to your place?
I don't know. It's a little quicker to go through the phone to get here, I guess. She moved to St. Petersburg, Florida. So, you know, the thing saved about 1,100-mile trip.
Better off in Florida.
Yeah, until you get a phone call from her soon, John. You'll get a phone call from her soon saying, John, did you send those that noise back to me?
Oh, I'm telling you.
She's going to call you, John. She's going to call you.
But if you listen to what she played, you hear it. Boom. In a few seconds. Boom.
Boom.
And she goes, John, this is going on all night, starts about 3 a.m. You know, and it was similar to the sounds that I've had come and go in this house.
Jenny, how you been?
I know here there's a spirit that walks around in the middle of the night once in a while. Last night I heard them again.
Yeah.
I was just laying in bed. It was like 1 o'clock. I'm like, okay, whoever's walking around, just keep it quiet.
The thing I get is I get two taps. There'll be a tap, and then almost simultaneously, tap, tap, opposite walls.
You sure it's not a bird?
In my bedroom, in the TV room. It
could be somebody in the walls, maybe
but it's been in like 5 different rooms, and you'll get boom.
You got a herd of mice in the walls.
And then you get it again. But it'd be odd that they're on separate. You know from hearing it's on separate walls, though. You know.
Could be some kind of
maybe have
troll.
a bunch of spirits.
You're gonna have
there
a
could be
knock on the
there.
I think they're legion here. Really.
Oh, jeez. You need to say some Hail Marys.
I do. I say my prayers every night, you know, but they don't scare me. Even when it was going on, I got more angry than scared. I was never really.
That's
afraid.
just more fuel for them.
Yeah,
well, anger.
Get angry at them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Well, it didn't challenge them internally.
You don't
like
have to challenge. Don't matter.
Yeah, they feast off that energy just in general.
Oh, in general, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I figured that if they can see your aura or whatever, mine was turning beet red. It wasn't white from fear that, they're going to get me, you know?
They're like, look at this dumpster fire. Here we go.
Yeah.
Dumpster fire. Well, that's a
how
good...
you been, Jenny? Jenny, how have you been?
I'm hanging in there.
You hanging
been
in
a rough month.
Mm-hmm.
Couple months. But I'm hanging in there. Have my good days and I have my bad days.
You have any plans coming up?
My son is coming in from Clinton. He lives down by the airport, so he's coming in with a baby, and we're gonna have some fun, have some baby stuff. Can't wait to see him. He's a funny little baby. Like we're gonna go there's a festival where I live, so we're gonna go there, and it'll be nice. I haven't got my
No, go ahead.
No, I'll probably make some cookies for him.
Oh,
that's exciting.
What kind of cookies?
He likes oatmeal chocolate chips.
Oh,
yeah,
can you ship some my way?
Sure,
that sounds good.
It'd be cheaper.
Jason, how about you, buddy?
What to drive?
You don't live that far from me, Jason.
Yeah, still with the price of gas, it'd be cheaper to.
Yeah, I know. Get my moped out.
With it.
Get my little scooter and just scoot up there.
Little moped.
Hey, John, my son sees you at the gym all the time.
Oh, is he at the gym? Yeah, I go 5-6 days a week.
I told him just to go up and say, "Hey, I'm Jenny's kid."
Well, he was a bodybuilder at one point.
Yeah, he was.
Pretty big guy, if I remember.
Yeah, he was a bodybuilder, and he got his wife's due to have a baby soon, so he's.
Sean used to be a bodybuilder.
Well, I always figured I can't mess with you, Jen, because your son would come pick me up.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
It's nice to have sons, I have to say. I always wanted a girl, but you know what? You can't. I love having boys. I mean, grown men, like they got my back. So it's nice. It's really
You
is.
know, in China, they keep the sons when they had the one kid policy, and the daughters they threw in the river. I'm not joking.
They threw the
I'm not
daughter.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
They threw the
that's
daughter
true.
in the
They figured-
river.
Throw 'em in a river.
When they got old, who's
Oh
going
my
to take
God.
care of us? And now there's like 200, I don't know, 200 million more men than women in China, and they
Yeah.
joined the military. So they're in the military. You got to put them to use. That's why I don't trust China.
Oh yeah.
No, really, no.
Just about everything we have here is
One
made in
man,
China.
I know.
one boy. That's all you could have is one
Yeah.
boy. If there was a
They,
girl,
I think they raised it. Didn't they raise it? No, they can
It's
have
3 now.
3 now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you know that in a couple of years, India will surpass China in population? They will be the #1 country, India.
oh my,
Well, you know what? I just had some Indian food the other day.
I can't.
Wasn't
touch
very
You're
that.
good.
still recovering?
curry?
I was really disappointed.
Curry? Was
Very
there a lot of
disappointed.
curry in it?
No, I didn't taste any curry, but it was not. It was called buttered chicken. It was not very good.
No,
Well, that's not chicken. It's something else.
I don't know. There was supposed to be chicken in it. I rather not have Indian food. I like Chinese. Oh,
Yeah.
but
Oh
then
my
you
God,
don't know what
Chinese
you're
has
eating either.
so
That
much-
could be
the
cat.
American version of
Yeah.
Chinese has so much
Well,
sugar in
when
it.
you don't see any cats and dogs out stray anymore, and there's a Chinese place,
There's some meat. There's they have steak on a stick.
Do yourself
and
a favor and
just
get the
don't
white
know.
meat General So's.
I like
It's
General
so
Tso's.
worth
It's
the
very
extra
fattening
$1.
though. It's so high in calories.
We're
But-
supposed to hit 8 billion people. I think it's in a couple of months. The world's going to be at 8 billion. It was an
Wow.
article.
Wow.
Eventually, Mother Nature's going to have enough of this crap and just wipe
Blow
us
all
out.
up.
Hey, you know what you didn't mention? The
What?
Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
So what do you think who did that? You think it was just
Wait,
some kind of
You know what's interesting? That female politician was running, and she said, if I get elected, and this was maybe
Yeah, she did say that.
that I'm going to blow them up. So maybe somebody took that and went and did it because she put the thought in their head and they blew the damn things up. You
Well,
know?
okay, what was it really? Are they what do you think they are? They like alien or what?
No, I mean some guy paid to build them. The question is, people say it was Gates. You know who bought it and who
some
got
kind of
property to
demonic
put it there. I never
temple.
viewed it as demonic, and that's what she had said, and others have said that these were demonic. But I don't see why were they demonic. They talked about really environmental type stuff,
I don't know.
keeping the human population at 500 million as a max, and I think that's way too low. You know, as far as the environment and all these other steps, and it was in different languages. I didn't see it as demonic, but just interestingly, I'm talking to Phyllis Galdi, who owns Fate Magazine, and I told her I'm going to be in Georgia in October, and I'm going to come up. I'm going up to the Biltmore. I'm going to have lunch with her, and then I'm going to go over to the Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah.
The next day, I see the
They're all
news.
blown up.
They blew
See,
up.
you put it out there, so
Well, I only said it to her. I didn't,
Now,
unless the spirits
here's
took
my
it and ran
question.
with it,
Did that with the stones? Now I was thinking, was the CERN going on at the time?
Yeah.
it was a mini black hole trying to suck
Yeah,
them
it's a
down.
mini CERN. It's connected probably.
You know what would be
Think about
funny? If the Stonehenge in England had
Oh, don't say that. Now it's going
the
to
same
happen.
time as the Georgia Guidestones collapsed.
Oh, that'd be
Could-
crazy, dude.
That
Wow.
could happen. Could
You know
happen.
something I was thinking about? Wasn't it recently the scientists or whatever were able to actually get a photo of a black hole? Like,
Yeah, I
it
saw
was
that.
real big not too long ago.
Yeah.
So, in other words, it's almost impossible to get a photo of a black hole, but we can create microscopic black holes right here on the planet.
Yeah,
Interesting.
could. We're talking about a different kind of it's not really a hole, but it's the full moon coming, isn't it today, tomorrow?
Mm.
My
I'll
brain.
tell you what,
Maybe that's why we're having so many gremlins tonight.
it's pretty black outside right now, so I don't think there's any full
Well, it's
moon.
nighttime, John.
Yeah, the full
I'm just
it's
saying you
the
would have
no, it's coming. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
today's I just got a notice from my I follow this this woman who does like it's a super full moon and it's coming soon.
Pap, I gotta say, you are so white right now. You look like a ghost yourself.
Yeah.
Are you Scottish? Are you Scottish?
I'm Irish.
Irish?
He goes
The
outside,
whitest
he's going to turn into a lobster.
The whitest people I've ever encountered were in Scotland.
Oh yeah, that was
And my ex-wife was Scottish. They are like as white as a piece of paper.
Here's an interesting fact about
as white
there's
as
an
Sean
interesting
Kelly.
fact about this. I was stationed over there for a year, and there's one day out of the year that it gets up to 72 degrees.
Wow,
that's it.
And they all stay in the house. The
Too
ones
hot.
that
When it's 72?
yeah, because of the sun, it just like to them that's like 100 and some degrees here because it rains every freaking day over there. Honestly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my. Yeah.
You ever see the movie Pitch Black with Vin Diesel?
Yeah.
Well, in Scotland, when it's 72 and sunny, they go outside and they start frying.
No, really.
The
Scottish people that go out when it's like 72, they're like lobsters, dude. I mean, they're terrible.
So I made a boo-boo in when I went to Florida this past fall. That was my first time there, right? We're in Miami. And somebody fell asleep in the sun with no sunscreen on. I won't say who.
I did that
it
once.
It was pretty miserable for a few days.
Yeah, the full moon
is
is
way
June
different out there.
15th. The waxing
Thank
is
you, Holly.
tomorrow. The waxing
June
is
15th
waxing
was last
tomorrow.
month.
What?
June to July 15th.
July
June.
15th.
No, I mean July 15th.
Yeah,
Come on.
July.
Yeah,
That's this
we're in
week.
July, huh?
I know.
July.
I still feel like I'm in June. Yeah,
3 days.
the waxing. You know, I was born on the full moon. That's what's wrong with me.
That explains
Is
everything.
that what? Why is that, Jenny?
Why was I born on the full moon?
No. Why is it the way you are? That because you were born-
This time, like today, is the waxing. It's like right before the
Wax
full
on,
moon.
wax off.
I'm like, I just don't feel right. I feel like
What does the waxing mean? Like you're going
it's almost full. It's
Waxing
almost
and
full.
waning.
Oh, the
it's-
food's all right.
fo-
I thought
it's-
maybe you had to go get waxed. All the
I
hair.
gotta wax my broom. My broom is in the.
all that hair. I gotta get that.
Oh, hey, listen! I have no hair.
Oh my
Look at that.
God!
I have
You wax
I have
your arms.
autoimmune diseases where I don't have any hair.
Are you wearing a wig right now?
I have hair on my head.
Don't
I don't
ever
have it
call
on
it
my
a wig,
body.
John.
Till she
Oh,
leans
yeah.
over, her hat falls off, and hair goes
No,
with it.
I don't have to shave my legs. I don't.
You're gonna get somebody to come up behind you and pull your hair and see if it's like Trump. Remember they said Trump was a toupee? I think you got a toupee on right now. That's not real.
My hair.
Oh, we're getting really personal here, huh?
No, I'm just saying I don't have. I'm so lucky because I
But
know
then
some
again-
women. Some women have to shave their legs. I don't have to. It's nice. Most Italian women have hair all over their
Okay.
face.
Yeah,
I don't have any.
You sure you ever run your ancestry?
Yeah, I did. I have. Believe it or not, I have Egyptian. I have
I believe that.
Muslim.
But if you
I
did the
have
ancestry.com,
hardly
that means now
any
your DNA's in
European,
the
like
system.
Scottish or anything, like German, just a tiny bit. My mother was a tiny bit, like a quarter German. But my ancestors were like in Africa. That's because the Romans, they spread their seed all over the place in Africa.
So where do you become Italian if you haven't mentioned Italy?
Yeah, I'm in Italy too, but I'm just saying, I think it was, yeah.
You know what? Next week, come with a veil on, and I think we're going to realize you're Muslim.
Oh my God! I'm just bringing the coffee. I'm just bringing the coffee.
Mine came back at 72% Italian, 20% Polish, and then I hit like 1% from Greece, Turkey, Azerbaijan, whatever, all the way up to.
I have to go see. I'm going to go look now. You made me curious. I'm going to go back on the site and see how much Italian I am.
I'm 96% Irish, 2%
I couldn't tell.
Wales, and English, and 1% or 2% Polish.
How do you screw in a life?
Where'd the Polak come from with all of that? You're like
My
Ireland and Wales.
my grandfather's brother came from Poland, and that's how we got it. But
It's getting
So-
late.
Jay, what are you now?
Well,
He's
my
a
last name ends in a
bass player.
vowel, so that screams Italian right there.
You ever run
if I was
into
100%,
Are you 100% Italian? Are
What's that,
you?
Jenny?
Are you
What?
100% Italian?
No, my hair's not black.
Oh, you don't have that black. I have blonde hair and blue eyes and
yeah.
cousins in Italy.
There were blondes in Italy. I mean,
Yeah, I have
worked
blonde hair, blue eye cousins.
If
I worked
think
in
it-
Milan, and there was a bunch of blonde girls in the office.
yeah.
And they were
Now,
Italian.
isn't it northern Italy? They have the blonde hair.
Yeah.
And in southern Italy, they have the dark hair.
I don't know. My family's was from Bari, Bari, and they had blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
was-
my
I
grandfather
remember-
came over from Italy when he was a kid. And then I think my
Ah.
great-grandma on the other side was from Italy. So I have a lot of Italian. That's usually
There
why
were
I
a
don't
couple,
get. I
there were
don't
a
get
couple of
sunburned.
guys there when I was working in Milan in the office, and they were almost like green skin.
Yeah.
I swear, like they had jaundice or something. They
Oh,
were young.
geez, they're all.
I'm looking
They've
at
been
them
eating
as-
too many olives. Okay, well, we have to cut.
We have
Yeah,
to go,
maybe it's
guys.
olive
We have-
oil or something. You know?
It was a great show tonight. I'm glad
Yes.
you all could be with
Thanks for
us.
joining
Stay
Torture
tuned next week for a
Tuesday.
fabulous show. So you guys have a great day.
Can't
Good
wait
night.
for Stan Gordon.
Yeah.
No.